Balto and Togo, the frozen 674-mile race against death. Nome, Alaska, January 1925. The wind howled like a dying animal across the frozen Bering Sea. Inside the small wooden houses of Nome, children were suffocating, their throats closed by a deadly grey membrane. Diphtheria had arrived, and it was killing them one by one. The nearest serum was 674 miles away, in Nenana. No plane could fly in this blizzard. No ship could break through the ice. The only hope was a relay of sled dogs and desperate men willing to run straight into hell. This is not just a race. This is a fight against death itself. Day 1, the call doctor. Curtis Welch stared at the dying children in the makeshift hospital. He had only enough antitoxin left for a few more patients. With panic rising in the town, he sent a desperate telegram. Nome needs antitoxin immediately. Diphtheria epidemic. Children dying. In Anchorage, the governor made a historic decision. The serum would travel by dog sled relay. 20 of the toughest mushers and over 150 sled dogs were called. Among them were two legends in the making: Togo, a wise, battle-hardened lead dog, and Balto, a strong but underestimated black and white husky. The temperature was dropping to minus 50 degrees Fahrenheit, minus 45 degrees Celsius. Visibility was zero. The trail was a death trap of jagged ice, open water leads, and howling blizzards. But the children of Nome were running out of time.
We're losing them. How much longer?
The relay begins. The serum left Nenana on January 27th. The first musher, Wild Bill Shannon, took off into the darkness. Within hours, his dogs began freezing. One by one, they collapsed. Shannon himself suffered severe frostbite, but pushed on. Team after team took the serum further. But the real hero of the early miles was Togo, led by the legendary musher Leonhard Seppala. Togo was 12 years old, already considered past his prime. Yet Seppala trusted him with the most dangerous leg of the journey. They had to cross the frozen Norton Sound, 42 miles of cracking sea ice in total darkness and gale-force winds. One wrong step and the entire team would disappear into the freezing black water. Togo led them across. His instincts were unbelievable. When the ice started breaking, he found the safest path. Seppala later said, "I never had a better dog than Togo." The point of no return. By the time the serum reached Bluff, the storm had become apocalyptic. Winds over 80 miles per hour. Temperatures so low that breath froze in the air. Gunnar Kaasen and his team, including Balto as lead dog, were waiting for their turn. Most people thought Balto was just a backup dog, not as experienced as Togo. But fate had other plans. The final handoff happened in the middle of a blinding blizzard. Kaasen strapped the serum to his sled and gave the command. "Hike!" Balto leaned into the harness. The race against death entered its most terrifying phase, hell on ice. The temperature dropped to minus 55 degrees Fahrenheit. The wind was so strong it nearly lifted the sled off the ground. Kaasen couldn't see his own hand in front of his face. He had to trust Balto completely. At one point, the team nearly plunged over a 200-foot cliff. Balto stopped suddenly, saving all their lives. Kaasen was frostbitten so badly he couldn't feel his hands, but he kept going. Meanwhile, back in Nome, more children were dying. Every hour counted. The final miles, on February 1st, after 5.5 days of relentless struggle, Balto and Kaasen staggered into Nome. At 3 a.m., the serum had arrived. The town, which had been holding its breath for days, erupted in tears and prayers. Balto stood, exhausted but proud, as the serum was rushed to the hospital. But the real journey was a team effort. 20 mushers and 150 dogs, many of whom gave their lives in the frozen wilderness. The aftermath Togo had run the longest and most dangerous stretch, over 260 miles. Yet Balto, who ran the final leg, became the famous face of the mission. A statue was built for him in Central Park, New York. Seppala always said Togo was the true hero. The children of Nome were saved. The epidemic was stopped. This was not just a race. It was one of the greatest acts of courage in history, where man and dog became legends.
This was not just a race. It was one of the greatest acts of courage in history, where man and dog became legends forever.